My mother-in-law showed up to help with the baby and didn't ask permission. She started reshuffling our documents like it was her house, then looked at me and said I didn't get to decide anything while she was here. Raleigh, North Carolina, has this polite way of hiding pressure. The neighborhoods look calm, the trees stay green longer than they should, and even the traffic feels like it's apologizing. That week, nothing about my life felt apologetic. Maya was 8 months old and just learned how to clap, which meant she clapped at everything. The microwave beeped, she clapped. A spoon fell, she clapped. I kissed her forehead, she clapped like I'd performed a trick. It should have been the kind of season you remember fondly. Instead, I remember the sound of my mother-in-law's suitcase wheels crossing our threshold like a countdown. It started on a Tuesday. I'd taken my lunch break in the parking lot of the IT office where I did support tickets all day, eating a squashed sandwich with one hand and scrolling daycare emails with the other. My wife, Erin, had texted me, "Can you pick up diapers on the way home?" Nothing strange, nothing dramatic. When I pulled into our apartment complex after work, the first thing I noticed was a car I didn't recognize parked too close to our spot, angled like it expected to stay. The second thing I noticed was the hallway light outside our unit, flickering in a slow, irritated rhythm. Inside, Maya was on a blanket in the living room, clapping at a ceiling fan. Erin was on the couch with a throw pillow hugged to her chest, smiling too hard. And standing at our kitchen counter like she'd always lived there was her mother, Marilyn, wearing a cardigan that looked soft but somehow made the room feel colder. She didn't greet me like a guest. She greeted me like staff. "Oh, good," she said. "You're home." We needed to talk about routines. Behind her, Erin's younger sister, Tessa, rolled 2 suitcases into our hallway like she was moving into a hotel. The suitcases weren't small. They had those hard shells that make a statement. We're not here for a night. I stopped in the doorway, still holding a bag of groceries and a pack of diapers, rainwater dripping off my jacket onto our mat. "What's going on?" Erin stood up fast, like she wanted to intercept my tone before it could become a problem. "Mom just came to help," she said, bright and breathless. "It's been a lot." Marilyn didn't look at Erin when she spoke. She looked at me. "A lot is an understatement," she said. "My daughter is exhausted. The baby is on an inconsistent schedule. And you—" Her eyes traveled over me like I was an item on a list. "You work too much to be present." I set the groceries on the counter slowly, careful not to make any sudden movements. I'd learned in the last few months that any sharp sound could be used as proof of me being on edge. "I'm here," I said. "Right now." Tessa smirked from the hallway. "He's here when it's convenient." Erin shot her sister a warning glance, but the warning was weak, like she didn't want to offend her family while I stood there holding diapers like an idiot. Marilyn opened a kitchen drawer without asking, found our scissors, and snipped the plastic off the diaper pack with the efficiency of someone who thinks they're saving you from yourself. Then she turned, walked past me, and headed straight for our bedroom. I followed, not fast, but not casual either. Erin trailed behind, rubbing her temple like she had a headache she didn't want to explain. Marilyn went into our closet and started moving things. Not gently, not with the careful respect people have when they know they're touching someone else's life. She pushed shoeboxes aside, pulled down a folder I kept on the top shelf, and set it on the bed. "Where's your lockbox?" she asked. My stomach tightened. "Why do you need to know where it is?" "Because," she said, as if the answer was obvious, "you don't keep important documents in random places when there's a baby involved." Erin laughed nervously. "Mom, he's not—" Marilyn held up a hand, and Aaron actually stopped mid-sentence, like Marilyn had a remote control for her. I stepped closer. "Marilyn, those are our documents." Marilyn turned the folder over, flipping through papers with the same confidence she used at restaurants when she'd send food back. I saw glimpses of our life in neat printed lines: lease renewal, insurance cards, Maya's vaccination record. Then Marilyn's voice sharpened. "Birth certificate." Aaron's face changed. Not fear, exactly. More like she'd been expecting that word to arrive and didn't want to catch it. "It's in the folder," Aaron said quickly. "It's fine." "It's not fine," Marilyn said. She tapped the paper stack like she was scolding it. "It should be in a safe place, and I want to see it." My mouth went dry. The request didn't make sense. Why would she need to see our baby's birth certificate? Unless she was checking something, unless she was confirming something. I watched Erin's hands. She kept twisting the edge of her sleeve, over and over like a child. "Why?" I asked. Marilyn's eyes narrowed, and when she spoke, her voice had that soft sweetness people use when they want to look reasonable while they crush you. "Because I'm here to help, and help requires access." She nodded toward Erin. She's not thinking clearly, so someone has to. Tessa leaned in from the doorway, phone in her hand, filming or pretending not to. I couldn't tell. I just knew the lens was pointed in our direction like a loaded question. Erin took a step toward me, voice low. "Please don't start," she whispered, like starting was something only I did. I stared at my wife, the woman I used to eat tacos with in the car and laugh until we cried, the woman who'd squeezed my hand in the delivery room so hard my fingers went numb. Now she was looking at me like my reactions were the problem, not her mother's invasion. Marilyn snapped the folder shut and placed it in the center of our bed like a judge placing evidence. Then she looked directly at me and said the sentence that changed the air in the room. "You don't get to decide anything while I'm here." The words landed with a quiet finality, and the quiet was the worst part. No shouting, no dramatic threat, just a statement, like a new rule had been posted on the wall. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. Maya's clapping drifted in from the living room, steady and cheerful, like the baby was applauding the takeover. I forced my voice to stay even. "This is my home," I said. Marilyn's smile thinned. "It's your address," she corrected. "There's a difference." Erin's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and tilted the screen away from me without thinking. That tiny motion, automatic and practiced, made my chest ache. When did she start hiding her phone like it was a second heart? I stepped out of the bedroom and into the hallway to breathe. I could feel my pulse in my ears. I could also feel the trap forming, the one where if I raised my voice I became the story they were already telling. From the living room, I heard Marilyn's voice again, lower now. "We do this clean. We do this smart." Then Erin answered, so soft I almost thought I imagined it. "I know." My own phone buzzed in my pocket. A new text from Erin popped up, even though she was 10 feet away. "Erin, please just be calm. Mom's trying to help. Don't make this a thing. Don't make this a thing." Like the thing wasn't already here, unpacking suitcases and flipping through my life. I walked back into the bedroom. Marilyn had moved from our closet to our dresser. She opened the top drawer and pulled out the manila envelope I'd never told anyone about, the one I'd tucked beneath old receipts and a spare phone charger. My lungs forgot how to work. She held it between two fingers like it was dirty. "What is this?" she asked. Erin froze, And for the first time that day, Maya stopped clapping. Marilyn held the manila envelope like it was a contaminant, pinched between two fingers. The yellow paper didn't even look dramatic. It looked ordinary, the way danger often does when it's been sitting quietly in a drawer. Aaron's eyes locked on it. Not confusion. Recognition. "That's nothing," Aaron said too fast. "Just paperwork." Marilyn didn't look at her. She looked at me, slow, like she was weighing how much authority she could take without me snapping. "You hide paperwork under phone chargers?" she asked. "That's not nothing. That's you keeping secrets." My throat tightened. "I didn't hide it," I said. "I put it somewhere safe." "Safe from who?" Tessa asked from the doorway. Her tone was playful, but her phone was still in her hand, angled chest high like she couldn't decide whether to record or just be ready to. "From your own wife?" Aaron flinched. "Tess, stop." Marilyn's mouth made that small line again. "We're not doing this," she said. "Not with the baby in earshot." Maya started clapping again, like she'd sensed the room needed applause to keep from cracking. Marilyn walked out of our bedroom with the envelope and the folder tucked under her arm, straight into the kitchen like she'd already assigned herself a command center. She pushed aside the mail pile, the bowl of clementines, my keys. She laid our documents out on the table in neat stacks as if she'd been waiting for the chance. "Okay," she said crisp. "Here's what's going to happen." I stepped into the kitchen doorway and stopped. The scene was too clean to be real. My wife on the couch, her sister hovering near the hall, her mother taking over my table like a general. I felt like I'd come home to someone else's life wearing my shoes. "I'm not doing, 'Here's what's going to happen,'" I said. Marilyn didn't blink. "You don't like plans because plans expose patterns," she replied, "and your pattern is avoidance." "Working isn't avoidance," I said. Erin stood up, but she didn't come to me. She hovered near the edge of the kitchen like she was afraid to cross some invisible line between her mother and her husband. "Daniel," she murmured, "please." Please meant don't embarrass her. Please meant don't make her choose out loud. Marilyn picked up the manila envelope and tapped it once against the table. A soft thud, nothing more. My body reacted like it was a gunshot. "What is it?" I asked Aaron again. "Tell me." Aaron's eyes flashed to her mother, then back. "It's medical," she said. "Medical," I repeated. "For who?" Marilyn cut in smoothly. "You don't need to interrogate her." I stared at Marilyn. "This is my home." Marilyn's smile returned, thin and bright. "Then act like it," she said. "A home has structure. A home has responsible adults. A home doesn't have a husband who disappears into work and comes back defensive." Tessa made a little sound in her throat, almost a laugh, and I saw her thumb move on her phone. Tap, tap, like she was texting a live update. I stepped to the table and reached for the envelope. Marilyn slid it away from me with 2 fingers, not dramatic, just controlled. "No," she said. The word hit harder than it should have because Aaron didn't protest. She just stood there, mouth slightly open, eyes wet, like she was watching a storm and hoping it would pass without touching her. "Why is she keeping it from me?" I asked Aaron. Aaron swallowed. "Because you get intense." There it was, the label, the framing, the pre-made headline. "I'm intense," I said quietly. "Or I'm reacting to people taking my stuff." Marilyn leaned forward. "You're not helping your case," she said. "This is exactly what I mean." "My case?" I repeated. "What case are you building in my kitchen?" Marilyn's gaze flicked to Tessa for a heartbeat, then back to me. "I'm building safety," she said. For my daughter and my granddaughter. I felt a cold, slow dread, like an elevator dropping one floor at a time. Safety, structure, case. These weren't family words. These were words people use when they're preparing paperwork. Erin's phone buzzed again. She angled it away without thinking, the same motion as before, automatic and practiced. That tiny reflex made my stomach twist. "Who keeps texting you?" I asked. Erin hesitated and Marilyn answered for her. "It's her friend group," she said. "People checking on her." Tessa's mouth curled. "Yeah," she said. "Checking on her." I wanted to grab my keys and take Maya and leave for an hour just to breathe somewhere neutral. But I didn't trust what would happen in my apartment if I left them alone with my kid and my documents and whatever story they were writing. Marilyn stood and walked toward the living room. "Tessa, take the suitcases to the bedroom," she called casually. "Erin needs rest. We'll put the baby monitor on this side." "My side," I said. "You're putting a monitor where?" Marilyn turned. "In the living room," she said, like it was obvious. "Erin and the baby will sleep in the bedroom. You can sleep out here." My vision narrowed. "You're moving me out of my own room." "It's temporary," Erin said quickly, almost pleading. "Just while Mom's here." "How long is she here?" I asked. Marilyn answered like she'd already booked it. "As long as it takes." Maya made a happy squeal and clapped again. Erin went to her, scooped her up, kissed her cheeks, like she needed to prove she was still a mother and not a witness. That was the first quiet horror of the night, realizing the baby was the soft shield everyone could hide behind. I forced myself to breathe slowly, like I was walking across thin ice. "Marilyn," I said, "put the envelope down. Right now." Marilyn walked back to the table and set the envelope on top of the folder, still out of my reach. "No," she said again. "Not until you calm down." "I am calm," I said. "You're not," she replied. "You're controlled. There's a difference." Tessa moved closer, phone in hand, eyes bright with that hungry curiosity people get when drama is finally happening to someone else. Erin stood with Maya against her shoulder, rocking slightly, like she was trying to put the whole room to sleep. I looked at Erin. "Did you bring her here?" I asked. Erin's jaw trembled. "I asked for help." "Help with what?" I asked. "Tell me." Erin's eyes slid away. "With you," she whispered. The words didn't scream, but they cut. My phone buzzed then, and the timing felt cruelly perfect. A work email notification. My manager. I glanced down without thinking. Subject: Urgent coverage tomorrow. Text: Need you in at 7 a.m. Client escalation. Confirm you're available. Second front. Pressure from outside, sliding into the cracks inside. Marilyn noticed the glance. "Work," she said, satisfied. "Always work. You see? This is why Erin can't rely on you." I opened my mouth to answer, then stopped, because I realized arguing with her only fed her. She wanted me louder. She wanted me messier. She wanted me to become the thing she'd already described to the world. So I did the one thing she wasn't ready for. I turned my phone around and held it out to Erin. "Look," I said, "this is what tomorrow looks like. This is what keeping the lights on looks like. If you want help, tell me what you need. But don't let your mom rewrite our home." Erin stared at the screen, then at me. For a second, I saw her hesitate. The smallest crack in the wall. Marilyn stepped between us physically like she was blocking a pass. "We're not negotiating," she said. "This is a reset." "A reset where I sleep on the couch," I said. Tessa's phone chimed. She glanced down, then smirked. "Oh, wow," she murmured. "What?" I asked. She lifted her screen slightly, not enough for me to read, but enough to show there was a message thread open. A group chat, multiple names at the top. Erin's face went pale. "Tessa," she whispered. Tessa's eyes flicked to me, shiny with excitement. "People are asking if you're okay," she said to Erin. "I told them you're safe now." Safe now. Like I'd been the danger before her mother arrived. That was the second quiet horror, realizing my reputation was already being packaged and shipped. I stepped back from the table, then forward again, and this time I didn't reach for the envelope. I reached for the folder underneath it, the one with our lease and insurance and Maya's records. My hand landed on the edge. Marilyn slapped her palm down on top of it. Not hard. Hard enough. "Don't," she said, voice low. Erin made a small sound like she wanted to intervene but couldn't find the side of herself that used to. I stared at Marilyn's hand. A plain, gold ring, manicured nails, the confidence of someone who had never been told no in a room she cared about. "Move your hand," I said. Marilyn's eyes didn't blink. "Or what?" I felt my pulse in my fingertips. I felt the trap. And then, from Erin's shoulder, Maya reached out with her little hand and grabbed Marilyn's ring finger, tugging curiously. Maya smiled like everyone was friends. Marilyn's expression softened instantly for the baby, and she lifted her other hand toward Maya's cheek. Erin shifted away, protective, a mother's instinct. Marilyn's smile disappeared, replaced by something sharp. "Don't start acting like he's the only threat," Marilyn snapped at Erin. "We're doing this my way." Erin's eyes filled. "Mom, please." And in that moment, Marilyn picked up the manila envelope again and turned it slightly, just enough for me to see the bold printed word near the top edge. Paternity. My lungs stopped. Erin's eyes slammed shut like she couldn't stand to watch my face change. Tessa's phone chimed again, and Marilyn, still holding the envelope, said softly, almost kindly, "Now you understand why you don't get to decide anything while I'm here." Then she slid the envelope into her tote bag, zipped it shut, and walked toward the door like she was taking my life with her. Marilyn's tote bag swung at her side as she walked toward the front door, and the zipper made this small, final sound that felt louder than the baby monitor ever could. Erin followed her like a shadow, whispering, "Mom, please," the way you whisper when you're trying not to wake a sleeping bomb. I moved first, not fast, not aggressive, just enough to stand between Marilyn and the door frame. "Give it back," I said, keeping my hands open. "That envelope is ours." Marilyn didn't stop. She angled her shoulder like she expected me to step aside. "It's not yours," she replied, calm as a customer service rep. "It's a medical document. It belongs where it can't be used to hurt Erin." "Used to hurt her?" I repeated. "By me reading it?" Tessa peered behind Marilyn, phone up now, not pretending. She didn't say, "I'm recording." She didn't have to. Her eyes were bright, fixed, and hungry. Erin's voice cracked. "Daniel, don't." The trap tightened. If I reached for the tote, I was grabbing. If I raised my voice, I was unstable. If I did nothing, I was letting them walk out with something that could change my life. Maya clapped from the living room, oblivious, like this was just another weird adult routine. Marilyn paused with her hand on the doorknob and turned her head slightly, just enough to address me without giving me the respect of facing me fully. "You're going to work tomorrow," she said. "Erin needs rest. The baby needs consistency. You need to stop making everything about you." "My baby is about me," I said before I could stop myself. Aaron inhaled sharply like the sentence alone was a spark. Marilyn's eyes flashed. "See?" she said, and she nodded toward Tessa's phone. That tone. That ownership. Ownership. Like being a father was a bad habit. I took a step back so I could see Aaron clearly. "Tell her to put it down," I said. "Tell her to stop." Aaron's gaze dropped to the floor. "I can't," she whispered, and that was the moment the room changed. Not because Marilyn was leaving, because my wife just admitted, in the smallest possible way, that Marilyn didn't feel like a visitor to her. She felt like the boss. Marilyn opened the door. Cold hallway air slid in. The flickering light outside made her face strobe between soft and severe. I didn't block her with my body. I blocked her with words, because words were the only weapon I had that couldn't be twisted into a police report. "If you leave with that," I said, "I'm calling your bluff. I'm calling the clinic. I'm calling whoever sent it. I'm getting a copy." Marilyn's smile returned, thin and satisfied. "Good," she said. "Then everything will be documented. That's how responsible adults handle things." Tessa snorted quietly, amused. Aaron's eyes filled with tears, but she still didn't step in. Marilyn stepped into the hallway. I followed to the threshold, and for 1 second, everything aligned into a scene you could freeze like a thumbnail. Marilyn stood in the hallway holding the tote bag tight to her hip, chin lifted. Aaron was behind me, clutching Maya against her shoulder, face crumpled and pleading. Tessa stood to the side filming, lips curled like she'd finally caught something. I stood barefoot on the threshold with my keyring in one hand and my phone in the other, screen glowing, trying to look calm while my whole life tilted. The props were too perfect. The tote with the stolen envelope, my keys, the phone glow, and a crumpled diaper receipt on the entry table that suddenly looked like evidence of a normal day that got hijacked. Marilyn turned her head and said softly, like she was offering mercy, "You sleep on the couch tonight. Aaron needs the bed. Don't make this harder." Then she walked down the hallway and disappeared around the corner, the tote bag swinging like a metronome. Aaron stood there a second longer, staring after her mom as if her mother's back could still control her. Then she shut the door, locked it, and leaned against it like her legs didn't work. I waited. I wanted her to say something. Anything. Instead, she whispered, "You're scaring me." I stared at her. "I'm scaring you?" I asked quietly. "Or the truth is scaring you?" Aaron flinched. "Don't say it like that." "Like what?" I asked. "Like you're sure," she said, voice shaking. "Like you already decided what that envelope means." I kept my voice low so Maya wouldn't absorb the panic like a second language. It said, "Paternity." Aaron's mouth opened, closed. Her throat worked like she was swallowing sand. "It's not what you think," she whispered. "That sentence only exists when it is exactly what I think," I said. Aaron's face tightened, not into anger, but into something else, something defensive and tired. "You don't understand what it was like after Maya," she said. "I was gone. My body didn't feel like mine. You were always at work, and Mom kept saying you'd leave if you knew certain things." "Certain things," I repeated. "Aaron." She shook her head fast like a child refusing a vegetable. "Not tonight. Please, not with her here." Maya clapped again and grabbed Aaron's hair, giggling, and Aaron smiled through tears like she wanted to pretend we were still a family in the simple sense. The baby monitor appeared an hour later, sitting on our living room side table, angled toward the couch. Marilyn must have set it up before she left because Aaron didn't even hesitate. She plugged it in like it belonged there, like it was normal for a third party to watch where I slept. That was the first quiet horror of the night after the hallway. The feeling of being observed in my own home without anyone saying they were observing me. I lay on the couch in the dark with the monitor's tiny green light staring at me. Aaron and Maya were in the bedroom, the door closed. I could hear Aaron moving around, soft footsteps, the hush of the sound machine. Every so often the monitor speaker crackled like a throat clearing. I imagined Marilyn in a hotel or on a friend's couch listening in, taking notes on whether I sighed too loudly. Sometime after midnight, I heard Erin's phone vibrate on the kitchen counter. Once, twice. Then the soft tap of her footsteps as she came out, careful, like she didn't want me to know she was awake. I kept my eyes closed. I didn't want to give her another reason to call me intense. I listened instead. The crackle of her phone, the quiet swipe, then a whisper, barely there. "Okay," Erin breathed. "Yes, tomorrow." A pause. "I know," she whispered again. "I'll do it." I opened my eyes in the dark, staring at the ceiling like it might explain what it was. In the morning, my alarm went off at 5:45. I got dressed quietly, packed my laptop, and made a bottle for Maya in the kitchen with the lights low. Erin came out with Maya on her hip, hair messy, eyes puffy. She didn't kiss me goodbye. She watched me like she was bracing for impact. At my office, the fluorescent lights made everyone look a little sick. My manager, Ken, waved me into a conference room before I could even log in. HR was there. Not dramatic HR, not suit and tie HR. Just a woman with a company badge and a folder on the table, sitting like she'd been waiting for me. Ken's voice was tight. "We need to talk about availability and concerns." "Concerns?" I asked. HR opened the folder and slid one page forward. I didn't touch it. I didn't have to. At the top, in black text, was my name. Under it was a line that made my stomach drop. "Employee may be experiencing instability at home that could impact workplace safety." My vision narrowed. Who wrote that? Ken didn't meet my eyes. "We got a call this morning," he said, "from a family member." I felt cold spread through my arms. Rally traffic had felt polite yesterday. Today, it felt like a net. HR spoke gently, the way people do when they're handing you a label. "We're not accusing you of anything. We're just documenting and offering resources." Documenting. Offering. Safety. The same words Marilyn used. I reached into my pocket for my phone without thinking, and it buzzed the moment my fingers touched it. A notification from the daycare app. Authorized pickup list updated. I clicked it, pulse in my throat. A new name sat there under Approved Adults. And it wasn't mine. The daycare notification sat on my screen like a bruise you keep poking to see if it's real. Authorized pickup list updated. Under it was a name I knew too well and still didn't expect to see in that slot. Marilyn. And my name, the one that should have been first, was shoved down into other notes, like an afterthought. Across the conference room table, HR kept talking in that slow, padded tone people use when they're trying to help you into a box without you noticing. "We want to make sure you have support," she said. "We can connect you with—" "I need to make a call," I cut in. Ken finally met my eyes, and he looked like a man who'd already decided he didn't want to be involved. "Daniel," he said quietly, "just don't do anything that escalates." That sentence made my skin go cold. Escalates. Like I was a fire that might jump lanes. I stepped into the hallway outside the conference room, thumb shaking on my screen, and called Aaron. Straight to voicemail. I called again, straight to voicemail. I texted, keeping it short because every extra word could be screenshot and spun. Me. Did you change the daycare pickup list? Call me now. No response. A quiet dread settled into my chest, the kind that doesn't spike your heart rate. It slows it down. It makes everything feel muffled, like you're underwater and the world is speaking through glass. I opened the daycare app again and took a screenshot. Then another. I didn't know why yet, but I could feel the shape of this turning into, he said, she said, and I wanted something that wasn't just my memory. When I walked back into the conference room, HR's folder was still open like a mouth. I'm leaving, I said. HR lifted her hand slightly. You're not in trouble. This is just, we're going to put you on a paid leave today. 1 day. To breathe. Ken nodded, like he was grateful the decision wasn't his. Paid leave. A gift that felt like a leash. I didn't argue. I signed nothing. I just stood up, said, I need to pick up my daughter, and walked out before my voice could change. Raleigh looked normal outside. Blue sky, people walking dogs, a coffee shop with a line out the door. The normalness made me angrier than traffic ever could. My car smelled like old fries and the vanilla air freshener Aaron insisted on. I gripped the wheel hard enough to make my knuckles pale and drove straight to Maya's daycare. On the way, my phone buzzed. A voicemail, unknown number. I didn't play it. Not yet. I didn't want a new voice in my head while I was trying to stay calm. The daycare parking lot was half full. I parked crooked, fixed it, then fixed it again because I suddenly cared about looking like a man who wasn't unstable. I adjusted my collar. I took a breath. I walked in like I belonged there. At the front desk, the receptionist, a woman I'd chatted with 100 times about nap schedules and teething, looked up and hesitated. That hesitation was tiny, but it was everything. Hi, Daniel, she said carefully. 1 moment. My stomach dropped. Is Maya okay? I asked. She's fine, the receptionist said too quickly. She's fine. We just need to confirm something. She turned her screen slightly away from me, fingers clicking. The lobby was bright and smelled like disinfectant and baby shampoo. A little boy ran past dragging a dinosaur backpack. Somewhere behind the walls, a baby cried, then stopped. Confirm what? I asked, keeping my voice even. The receptionist's smile looked glued on. We got an update on the authorized pickup list this morning. I saw, I said. It wasn't me. Her eyes flicked up. Okay. She glanced toward the hallway leading to the classrooms, then back. We have to follow what's in the system. I'm her father, I said. I know, she whispered like she did know, like she hated this, like she wasn't allowed to say she hated it. A side door opened then, and Marilyn walked in like she owned oxygen. She wasn't alone. Tessa was behind her, phone in hand, and Erin trailed last with her arms wrapped around herself as if she was trying to hold her ribs together. Marilyn had Maya's car seat in one hand. Seeing that car seat made my vision sharpen. That wasn't help. That was a plan with a destination. For a second, the lobby became a perfect, frozen scene. I stood at the front desk with my wallet open in one hand like a shield, my phone glowing in the other. The receptionist looked trapped behind her monitor. Marilyn stood to the left with the car seat, chin lifted, eyes cold. Tessa hovered just behind her, filming, mouth curled like she'd caught her favorite show live. Erin stood on the right side of the frame, face tight and wet, not looking at me. On the small bench near the wall, a tiny pink backpack sat ready to go, and a clipboard with sign-out sheets lay open like a silent judge. Keys, phone glow, car seat, backpack, every clue screaming without sound. Marilyn spoke first, her voice too calm. "We're here for Maya," she said to the receptionist. "There was an update. I'm authorized." I turned to Aaron. "Did you do this?" I asked. Aaron's mouth trembled. "Daniel." "That's not an answer." Marilyn stepped closer, still smiling, and it made my stomach turn because her smile was designed for witnesses. "He's stressed," she told the receptionist. "Work problems, sleep deprivation. Please don't let him make a scene." I stared at her. "You don't get to narrate me," I said. Tessa lifted her phone a little higher. Aaron whispered, "Please." The receptionist swallowed. "Mr. Carter," she said, voice gentle. "We just need to follow the list. If your name isn't—" I slid my ID across the desk with 2 fingers, slow and deliberate. "That's me," I said. "That's her last name. I've been on pickup since day 1. Call your director. Call Aaron. I'm not leaving without my child." Marilyn's eyes narrowed. "Don't do this in public," she hissed, the first crack in her polish. "You started it in public," I said, still calm. "You brought a car seat." Aaron finally looked at me, and her eyes were full of a fear that wasn't about me hurting her. It was about her mother's system collapsing. The daycare director appeared from the hallway, hair pulled back tight, expression already exhausted. She took one look at the group and did that thing professionals do when they smell conflict. She made her face neutral and her voice slow. "Hi," she said. "Let's step into my office." Marilyn moved first, like she was the one being accommodated. Tessa followed, filming. Aaron followed, silent. I followed last, holding my phone like a lifeline. Inside the director's office, the air felt smaller. The director sat behind her desk and turned her monitor so we could all see the pickup list. Marilyn's name glowed there like a stamp. "I'm sorry," the director said. "This was updated from the primary account this morning." Primary account. Aaron. Aaron's shoulders sagged like she'd been carrying a weight and finally let it fall. I didn't yell. I didn't slam a hand on the desk. I just looked at my wife and said quietly, "You took me off." Aaron shook her head, tears spilling. "I didn't take you off," she whispered. I just added my mom." "Then why isn't my name there?" I asked. Aaron's lips parted, and she didn't answer. Marilyn leaned forward. "Because he doesn't need to be first right now," she said. "He needs stability. He needs help." The director's eyes flicked between us, uncomfortable. "I can't weigh in on family matters," she said. "But I can tell you our policy. We release only to authorized adults." I heard my own heartbeat in my ears. Not fast, heavy. "Bring Maya out," I said. "Let her see me." Marilyn scoffed. "Don't manipulate." "I'm not manipulating," I said, sharper now. "I'm her father." The director hesitated, then stood. "I'll have her teacher bring her," she said. A minute later, Maya's teacher appeared in the doorway holding my daughter on her hip. Maya's hair stuck up in a little fountain. She saw me and her whole face brightened. She reached for me immediately, arms out, squealing. That sound almost broke me. I stepped forward, and Maya's teacher handed her to me without hesitation. Maya grabbed my collar and pressed her cheek to my chest like she was claiming me in front of everyone. Marilyn's face tightened. Aaron covered her mouth. Tessa's phone kept recording. And my daughter, with her small warm hand on my neck, looked past my shoulder at Erin, and made a soft, confused sound like she was asking why the room felt wrong. The director cleared her throat. "Okay," she said gently. "She's calm with him. That matters." Marilyn's voice snapped, suddenly sharp. "That doesn't mean he's safe." I turned my head slowly toward Marilyn. "What exactly are you saying?" I asked. Marilyn didn't answer me. She looked at Erin. Erin looked like she couldn't breathe. Then my phone buzzed again, and this time it was the voicemail from the unknown number, now transcribed across my screen. Voicemail. Transcription. "Daniel, this is Evergreen. The results are ready. Please check your portal for the report." My blood went cold, because I didn't have a portal. But someone did. The voicemail transcription stayed on my screen like a stain that wouldn't wipe off. "Evergreen, the results are ready. Please check your portal." I stood in the daycare director's office with Maya pressed against my chest, her small fingers gripping my collar like a handle, and all I could think was, someone built a portal around my life and didn't give me the login. Erin's eyes kept darting between my phone and her mother's face. Marilyn's mouth was set in that calm, satisfied line, like she just won a point on a scoreboard no one admitted existed. "What is that?" Erin whispered. "You tell me," I said, still holding Maya, "because I didn't sign up for any portal." Marilyn stepped forward, voice soothing for the director's benefit. "He's reading too much into a voicemail," she said. "Stress does that." I looked at the director, then at Maya's teacher, then back at Erin. Witnesses. I needed to be careful, not because I was guilty, but because I could feel how quickly a room could become a report. "I'm taking her home," I told the director. "I'm on the pickup list. I've been on it. You saw her come to me." The director nodded slowly. "For today," she said, choosing her words like stepping stones. "I'm comfortable releasing her to you, but you need to resolve the authorization list. We can't be in the middle of disputes." Marilyn's eyes narrowed, but she forced a smile. "Of course," she said. "We're just trying to keep things calm." Calm. Another word used like a leash. I walked out with Maya on my hip, my phone in my hand, and the feeling that the whole building was watching. In the parking lot, the air was too bright. The sky was aggressively blue like it hadn't gotten the memo. Erin followed me outside. Not her mother, not her sister. Erin came alone, wiping her cheeks quickly like she didn't want anyone to see her cry even though half the world already had. "Daniel," she said, voice cracking, "please don't do anything." I turned to her. Maya rested her head on my shoulder and sucked her thumb, sleepy from all the adult noise. "I'm not doing anything," I said. "I'm trying to understand why a lab is calling me about results I didn't ask for." Erin swallowed. It's from the hospital." "You said it was nothing," I said. "I said it was medical," she corrected, and the correction sounded rehearsed. "My mom panicked. She thinks what?" I asked. Erin's eyes flicked past me toward the building. Marilyn and Tessa had stepped outside now. Tessa's phone was still up, still hungry. Erin lowered her voice. "She thinks you'll leave," she whispered. I stared at Erin for a long second. "So she took control of my house," I said quietly, "and my child's pickup list, and called my job, and now there's a lab portal, and that's supposed to keep me from leaving." Erin's face twisted. "You don't know what she's like," she said, like I hadn't spent years swallowing Sunday dinners with that woman. "I know exactly what she's like," I said. "I just didn't know you'd let her." Erin flinched as if I'd slapped her, and immediately I hated that the truth could look like violence. Marilyn's voice cut across the lot. "Erin, come on," she called, sweet and firm. "We're done here." Erin looked at Maya's tiny shoes, then at my face, then at her mother, and I saw it. The war wasn't just between Erin and me. It was between Erin and the version of Erin her family required. I turned away before I could watch her choose. On the drive home, Maya fell asleep. Her breath warmed my neck, and the weight of her trust made my hand steadier on the wheel. My phone kept buzzing with messages I didn't open. Work. Erin. Unknown numbers. The day felt crowded with invisible hands pulling at my sleeve. When I pulled into our complex, Marilyn's car was back in our spot. Not parked near it, in it. Like she'd already moved in, officially. My stomach tightened again, but this time it wasn't panic. It was resolve. If they wanted documentation, I could document too. I went inside quietly, Maya still asleep. The living room looked rearranged. Not messy, just reauthored. The couch cushions were lined up like soldiers. The baby monitor sat on the coffee table angled toward the couch. Green light steady, watching. My overnight bag was on the floor like it had been assigned a corner. From the kitchen, I heard voices. Marilyn's voice, low and sharp. Tessa's, excited. Erin's, small. I walked in and stopped. It was another scene you could freeze and it would explain everything without words. Marilyn sat at our kitchen table with her laptop open, fingers flying. Tessa stood behind her, leaning in, phone glowing in her palm. Erin was on the right side of the frame, arms wrapped around herself, face pale and tense. On the table were my keys, the manila envelope I'd seen her steal now lying beside a stack of printed pages, and a little pink daycare backpack unzipped like someone had already packed a future. The only thing missing from the table was me. Until I stepped in. Marilyn looked up first, eyes narrowing. "Why are you home?" she demanded. "I was put on leave," I said, and my voice was calm enough to scare me. "Funny how that happened." Erin's shoulders dropped. Tessa's phone tilted slightly toward me. Marilyn's expression didn't change. "Good," she said. "Then you can rest. That's what you need." "I got a voicemail from a lab," I said, "about results, about a portal." Erin inhaled sharply. Marilyn leaned back like a queen evaluating a servant's complaint. "And?" she said. "And I don't have access," I said. "So tell me whose portal it is." Tessa scoffed. "You're being dramatic." I didn't look at her. I looked at Erin. "Whose email is tied to it?" I asked. Erin's lips trembled. She glanced at the laptop, then away. "Daniel, please," she whispered. That "please" again. It kept showing up like a brick in my path. Marilyn clicked her tongue. "You see," she said to Erin like I wasn't there. "He's spiraling." I took out my phone and held it up, screen facing them. "I have the voicemail transcription," I said. "I also have a screenshot of the daycare pickup list change, and I have a note from HR that says someone called about instability at home." Marilyn's eyes flicked to my phone and then away. "You can screenshot all you want," she said. "It doesn't change reality." "It changes what can be proven," I said. Tessa's smile faltered for the first time. Erin stepped toward me. "I didn't call your job," she said quickly. "I swear." I believed her. That didn't make me feel better. "Then who did?" I asked, already knowing. Marilyn's jaw tightened. "I made a responsible call," she said, "to protect my daughter." "By taking away my income?" I asked. "By creating a record," Marilyn corrected, "in case we need it." The word "we" hit like a door locking. I set Maya gently in her high chair, still half asleep, and strapped her in. Her eyes blinked open, confused. Then she reached for her sippy cup. Normal life trying to breathe inside a controlled fire. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Erin, even though she was standing 5 feet away. A text, like she couldn't say it out loud. Erin, don't ask in front of them, please. After Maya sleeps, I'll explain. I stared at the message, then at Erin's face. She looked terrified, and it wasn't of me. It was of her mother hearing her tell the truth. Marilyn saw my eyes move. No secrets, she snapped. If there's something to say it now. Erin flinched. Mom? No, Marilyn cut in. We're done with him controlling the narrative. I laughed once, short and humorless, because the irony almost made me choke. Controlling the narrative, I repeated. In my kitchen. Marilyn stood, closing the laptop with a decisive snap. You want the portal, she said. Fine, we'll do it properly. She reached into her tote bag and pulled out a single printed page, already folded like it had been handled 100 times. She slid it across the table toward me. At the top was a logo I didn't recognize. Below it, a bold heading. Paternity report available. Underneath that, in smaller print, was a login email. I picked up the paper with 2 fingers. The email address wasn't Erin's. It wasn't Marilyn's. It was a name I hadn't heard spoken in my home in years, not since the last family don't make a scandal fight that ended with forced hugs and fake apologies. My own mother had said it to me once, warning and quiet. And now it was printed in black ink like a confession. I looked up at Erin, voice barely working. Why is that email on this? I asked. Erin's face went white. Marilyn smiled like the chessboard had finally been revealed. I kept staring at the email on the printed page like it might rearrange itself into something less insane. My brother's name. My last name. A ghost address from a person I hadn't let into my life in years. My mom had warned me once, quiet as a church, don't trust Noah when things get complicated. I thought she meant money. I thought she meant old family drama. I did not think she meant my child. Erin's face went so pale it looked unreal, like the color had been drained for a photo filter. Marilyn watched her the way predators watch fences. Not worried, just calculating. Tessa's phone hovered in her hand, but her expression had shifted. This wasn't funny anymore. This was radioactive. Why is my brother's email on a paternity portal? I asked, and my voice sounded too steady, like my body had decided it couldn't afford emotion yet. Erin's eyes flicked to Maya, then to the high chair straps, then to the floor. Daniel, she whispered. Marilyn answered for her because of course she did. Because someone needed to be responsible, she said. Someone needed to handle logistics without you. Reacting. I looked at Marilyn. No, I said. That's not an answer. That's a cover. Erin took 1 step forward and then stopped, like there was an invisible rope around her waist tied back to her mother. It's not what you think, she said again, and this time it came out like a habit she'd repeated in the mirror. There are only so many things it can be, I said. Pick one that makes sense. Maya banged her sippy cup on the tray, bored with adults. The sound was normal, and the normalness made the air feel even more wrong. I turned the paper over. It had a customer service number and a reference code. Nothing personal, nothing that would violate any rule, just enough to prove it was real. I held it up. If this is a mistake, we call right now, I said, on speaker, in front of everyone. If it's not a mistake, you tell me why my brother's name is on it. Erin's lips parted, and nothing came out. That was the third quiet horror, the one that doesn't scream, the silence that confirms guilt without a confession. Marilyn's voice sharpened. Not in front of the baby. The baby is the reason we're here, I said. Tessa finally lowered her phone a few inches. Mom, she murmured, maybe we should... Stop, Marilyn snapped. Then she softened her face again like a mask snapping into place. Daniel, you're tired, you're stressed, you're on leave. Let's do this calmly. I laughed once, short and dead. You don't get to say calmly after you called my job and rewrote my daycare access, I said. You've been building a file on me in my own kitchen. Aaron made a small, broken sound. I stepped closer to Aaron, careful, hands still open. Look at me, I said. I need the truth. Not your mom's version. Yours. Aaron's eyes met mine for half a second, and I saw it. Not just fear, shame. The kind that sits behind your ribs and makes it hard to breathe. It was before Maya was born, she whispered. Before the paperwork, before everything. I was scared. Scared of what? I asked. Aaron swallowed hard. That you'd leave. Marilyn nodded like Aaron had just recited the correct line. Exactly, she said. Men leave. I didn't take my eyes off Aaron. Why Noah? I asked. Aaron flinched at his name like it burned her tongue. He reached out, she said, barely audible. He said he was sorry for how things ended between you two. He said he wanted to make things right. He was helpful. Helpful, I repeated, and my stomach turned. When? Aaron's hand started shaking. When you were working all the time, she whispered. When I was pregnant and I felt alone, and your family didn't. They didn't really show up. He showed up. The kitchen felt smaller. The baby monitor's green light blinked on the coffee table behind me, watching like an eye. Marilyn cut in, voice syrupy. Don't make this ugly. We did what we had to do. Aaron needed stability. I snapped my gaze to Marilyn. You used my brother as a solution, I asked. Marilyn's expression didn't change. He offered, she said. He understood what was at stake. I turned back to Aaron. What did he offer? I asked. A ride? A conversation? Or something else? Aaron's eyes filled and she nodded once, tiny, like her neck couldn't hold the weight of it. My hands went cold. My whole body went cold, but my voice stayed clear, which scared me more than yelling would have. Did you sleep with him? I asked. Aaron's mouth trembled. Once, she said. I thought it was a mistake. I thought it would never come back. I swear, I thought... My ears rang. Not from volume, from shock. Somewhere in the living room, a car passed outside and its headlights slid through our blinds like a slow scan. Marilyn leaned forward, angry now, her mask slipping. And then, you started acting suspicious, she hissed at me. You started noticing things. Aaron couldn't breathe in her own house because you were watching her like a detective. I noticed because you were hiding a paternity test in my drawer, I said. Aaron covered her mouth. Tears fell fast. Tessa whispered, "Oh my God." I looked down at the printed page again. So, this test, I said, voice low. You did it. Aaron nodded. My mom pushed it, she whispered. She said we needed to be prepared. Prepared for what? I asked. Marilyn's eyes flashed. For you to weaponize it, she snapped. For you to destroy her. I stared at her, and I realized something clean and terrifying. Marilyn wasn't here to help Aaron heal. She was here to control the fallout. I held up my phone and opened the voicemail transcription again. The lab called me, I said. Why would they call me if the portal was Noah's email? Aaron's face crumpled further. Because I put your number in once, she whispered. By accident. Then I panicked and changed it back. Marilyn's jaw tightened. Enough, she said. This is done. No, I said, and the word came out like a door slamming. This is finally starting. I dialed Noah. My thumb hovered for a second because part of me still hoped the number wouldn't work, that it would be disconnected, that this could still be a nightmare with a technical error. Then it rang. Once. Twice. He picked up on the third ring. Danny, Noah said, like we were two brothers catching up over a game. Hey. I put him on speaker and set the phone on the table between the paperwork and Maya's backpack. The table became a courtroom without walls. You used your email for a paternity portal, I said. Why? Silence. Then Noah exhaled. I didn't want you blindsided, he said. Marilyn's lips moved like she was silently coaching him. Aaron stared at the table, sobbing quietly, shoulders shaking. You didn't want me blindsided, I repeated. So you helped them hide it. Noah's voice got softer. Aaron was scared, he said. Marilyn called me. She said you were volatile. I laughed again, and it sounded like it hurt. You believe Marilyn's assessment of me, I said, after you've known me my whole life. Danny, he said, you always go cold when you're hurt. That scares people too. My hands clenched around the edge of the table until I felt the wood bite my palms. I forced them to loosen, because I could feel Tessa's phone rise again in my peripheral vision. Was the test done? I asked. Yes or no? Noah didn't answer immediately, which was its own answer. Aaron whispered, Please, but she didn't say to who. Marilyn leaned forward and hissed, Noah. Noah cleared his throat. Yes, he said. The report posted yesterday. And the result? I asked, my voice so calm it felt detached from my body. Noah's voice cracked. Danny. I'm sorry. I stared at Aaron. Her face confirmed what the words hadn't yet said. It felt like the floor didn't drop. It felt like the floor had never been there, and I just noticed. Maya babbled, waving her hands. She laughed at nothing. She clapped again. My daughter clapped, and the sound was unbearable. I stood up slowly. The room held its breath. This was another frozen moment, sharp enough to be a thumbnail. Aaron on the right side of the kitchen, crying into her hands. Marilyn half standing, one palm on the table like she was bracing to keep control. Tessa behind her, phone up, eyes wide. Me standing at the head of the table with my keys in my fist, my phone on speaker, the paternity page between us. Maya in her high chair banging her cup like a metronome. Paper, phone glow, keys, backpack. A family split into pieces without anyone touching. I walked to Maya and unbuckled her gently. My hands didn't shake when I touched her. That's what broke me most. Whatever the DNA said, my body knew her. Marilyn stepped forward immediately. Don't take her, she snapped. I turned my head, slow. Watch your mouth, I said, quiet and lethal. That's my daughter. Marilyn's eyes widened at the certainty in my voice. Aaron sobbed harder. Daniel, please. I held Maya against my chest and felt her warm cheek press into my collarbone, that same instinctive trust she'd shown at daycare. I kissed her hair once. Then I looked at Aaron. Tell me one true thing, I said. Right now. No management. No masks. One true thing. Aaron's voice was shredded. I didn't want this, she whispered. I didn't want it to be him. I didn't want any of it. I nodded once because I believed she believed that. It didn't undo anything. I walked into the bedroom and grabbed a duffel bag. I didn't pack like a man leaving forever. I packed like a man leaving to survive the next hour. Diapers, bottles, a change of clothes for Maya, my laptop, the folder Marilyn had spread out like she owned it. I took it back without asking, because permission was over. When I came back into the kitchen, Marilyn was already speaking in that calm, rehearsed tone again. "Daniel, you're making a mistake. You're proving my point." I stepped close enough that only Aaron could hear me and said, "Your mom isn't protecting you. She's protecting her control." Aaron squeezed her eyes shut like she couldn't stand to hear it. I left. I drove to my friend Marcus's place across town because he lived in a small townhouse where the streetlights actually worked and nobody's mother-in-law had keys. I called a family lawyer the next day. I didn't file something dramatic that afternoon. I filed something careful, a temporary custody arrangement and a request to clarify parental rights. I also requested copies of anything submitted to my employer that mentioned safety, because I wasn't going to let Marilyn's narrative become my permanent record. A week later, I got another text from Aaron, the kind that wasn't meant to be evidence, just truth spilling out. "Aaron, I hate that you found out like this. I hate that my mom used you. I don't know how to fix it." Asterisk. I stared at it for a long time, and the quiet dread came back, softer now, not a wave but a constant weather. I realized there were two different heartbreaks living in me. One was about betrayal. The other was about Maya, and how she didn't ask for any of this. The most honest moment came on a Saturday when Aaron and I met at a park near a playground, supervised by Marcus sitting on a bench like a silent referee. Aaron stood on the right side of the frame, eyes red, hands trembling around a paper coffee cup. Marilyn was in her car at the curb, watching through the windshield because she couldn't help herself. Tessa hovered nearby, pretending she wasn't filming. I held Maya as she reached toward Aaron, confused and smiling. Aaron whispered, "Hi, baby," and Maya clapped, happy as ever. Aaron looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "I don't want you to hate her," she whispered, nodding at Maya. "Please." I didn't answer with rage. I answered with the only truth left. "I can't hate her," I said. "She's the best thing that ever happened to me. That's why this hurts the way it does." Aaron's face collapsed. Marilyn's car door opened like she was about to intervene, and Marcus stood up immediately, blocking the line like a wall. And in that moment, I understood the whole shape of it. Marilyn had tried to turn my life into a controlled story, but the only story that mattered was the one Maya would grow up inside. I could either let adults weaponize her, or I could build something stable enough to outlast the lies. I drove away with Maya asleep in the back seat, the car quiet except for the turn signal clicking like a metronome, and I didn't feel victory. I felt grief, but underneath it, there was something else, a boundary, a line that couldn't be rewritten.